Hello and welcome to the Film Ireland podcast. I'm Gemma Creagh and I'm chatting with Tommy Creagh, the Bloomsday Film Festival founder and director. And this fabulous film festival runs from Monday the 12th to Friday the 16th of June. Thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you.
So you're looking after a very important festival at the moment. But first, I was wondering if you could just share a little bit about how you got into this business.
Well, yeah, I'm a filmmaker myself. I write and direct, and I a while ago now, like 2018, I actually did a Joycean short, which was based on the kind of final passage of the Dead. And so I just started collaborating with the Joyce Centre because I had that short, and I thought it'd be a good platform to have to screen it on Bloomsday. And I eventually sort of ended up working with other filmmakers who had done similar things. And I just slowly over a few years realized that there was actually quite a lot of people out there sort of making films inspired by Joyce's work, and that there was something kind of interesting going on with Joyce and cinema. And obviously I intuited that myself as I wanted to make a film. So it was something that I felt quite strongly that I then saw was kind of inspiring other people. So I kind of just pitched the idea to the James Joyce Centre and said, I think there are and I'd found a number of films at that point. I'd looked on IMDb and on James Joyce's profile, because I'd added him as the writer to one of my films, and then I ended up seeing there were all these other films. So one year I just said, look, I could put together a little screening for you. I'd done screenings in the past, little private screening events, and I enjoy curation. So yeah, we ended up putting it on during COVID, and the first main edition, and that was really good for them because it was something that could be completely online. So I think the timing was right for us, really, that it was the Joyce Centre were really happy to have it at that point. And then we screened it the year after during COVID as well, and then last year we did it live for the first time, collaborating with the IFI. So it's just kind of got it just got quite big quite quickly, I guess, sort of hanging off the coattails of the Bloomsday Festival and Joyce. But yeah, I think it was just the timing was right, and it's been really exciting just to see the work that's out there, and that my gut instinct was true, and Joyce is inspiring a lot of people out there, and it's exciting to see the innovative work that's coming out of it. It's always interesting. It's never just bland, faithful stuff. It's always kind of interesting and rebellious and exciting. So
what would the common traits of the films have in common? Because they seem to be very different in theme and tone. What are some of the things? And I know you had a call out for shorts as well. So if you were a filmmaker and you were like, this might fit the bill, what is it sort of that encompasses what makes a Joycean inspired film?
Well, the Joycean short, so we kind of opened it up last year to include other categories, obviously, because we kind of wanted the festival to live and breathe, and just screening Joycean films would probably would be quite limited. So we see it as kind of like a literary film festival. We call ourselves Ireland's most literary film festival, and it's sort of like a celebration of kind of literature and film. So on the 13th we screen poetry shorts, and also literature shorts. And then on the 14th, we actually screen experimental short films, because Joyce himself would have been very experimental. Ulysses is one big experiment. And then on the Thursday, the 15th this year, we're screening Dublin and Joycean films. So, and one of the things that we always say that we come back to, it's kind of celebrating filmmakers who do things their own way, and look to kind of push the format forwards, as Joyce did within literature. So we're kind of looking for those kind of slightly rebellious, left of field voices out there who are doing things in a very unique way.
And speaking of which, you have a very special guest coming to this festival. If you'd like to give us a little bit of the lowdown there.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you talk about singular voices, people who do things their own way, who better embodies that in modern cinema than Charlie Kaufman? So it's kind of a bit of a pinch me dream come true kind of moment. But he's coming to the festival. He submitted a short film to us, and at first I thought it was just someone with the same name as him. I thought, what,
As you would. Wow. That's
because
amazing.
as I said, it's kind of grown quite quickly, and we're in our fourth year, so the fact that Charlie Kaufman would submit a film to us is slightly mind blowing, because it still feels like we are still a very small festival, really. We have good collaborators and partners so we punch above our weight, but we're quite small and quite underfunded. So it's quite a crazy thing, really. But he's got a new poetry short that he's collaborated again with a poet called Ava HD, and she her poetry was featured in I'm Thinking of Ending Things as well. And so they're coming over to present it at the IFI on the 15th.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're doing a Q&A. Charlie will be our guest, and we're having a bonus screening at the IFI of I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and it's going to be the first time it's been theatrically shown in Ireland. So yeah, very exciting stuff.
That's some kind of A-lister coming over
Yeah.
for us film nerds. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about the rest of the lineup. Obviously, it's a very inspiring festival with attracting talent of that caliber.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of exciting people joining us this year. So um, as I said, on Tuesday the 13th, it will be poetry films. So there's a huge amount of exciting international and Irish poetry filmmaking, which is kind of like, people ask me what are poetry films. They're kind of like music videos for poetry, if that makes sense. And that's always really exciting. And then the evening of the 13th, we have a memorial screening for Niall McDevitt, who was a London Irish poet and presenter who sadly passed away last summer. But he worked on a couple of short films with director Shane Mary Doyle, who you might have heard of, and they did a series about Irish literary figures in London. And so they did one about W.B. Yeats and his kind of rivalry with Aleister Crowley in the Society of the Golden Dawn, which is great fun. And they did another one about Joyce getting married in London and his kind of reluctancy to get, his relationship to marriage. And so they're both really great. And Niall was a fantastic presenter, like effervescent personality. It's a real loss. And we sort of thought that since we had those two films, we would kind of create a kind of memorial screening around that. And there's going to be the kind of cream of London Irish talent coming back to Dublin for it to read some of his poetry. People like James Byrne, Alan Cox. So that's going to be a really exciting event and a kind of meld of performance, poetry, and film. And then Tuesday, as said, is the Wednesday, sorry, I'm getting mixed up. I'll just do the date. The 14th of June is the experimental day, and that evening we're showing Shay's film Alive Alive O, which is a requiem for Dublin street traders, and with poetry from Paula Meehan. And that's going to be an event. We're going to get some of the people who were in the film to talk about this. Obviously, it's now kind of like it was a dying culture when they shot it in 2001, but now it's like pretty much a dead culture. So that's going to be really interesting and meaningful. I think Paula Meehan is going to be in attendance as well. And then Wednesday, we're showing the Joycean shorts and the Dublin shorts. Charlie Kaufman, we're going to be screening his poetry film at the IFI. And then Thursday on Bloomsday itself, there's a couple more screenings at the IFI. We're screening a really interesting film about a Kurdish poet and novelist who has translated Ulysses into Kurdish, which is obviously a kind of unrecognized language. And he's using translation. He's translated Shakespeare. I think he translated Milton into Kurdish. And his like crowning achievement is he's translated Ulysses, and it took him about 8 years and
Wow.
drove him slightly insane. but the film is all about his struggle to kind of bring this to light, and also it's the Kurdish people, the Kurdish struggle, and the status of the Kurdish language. So I think that's a really exciting and important film that will be screening at the IFI on Bloomsday. And then after that is I'm thinking of ending things. And then we've got one more screening on the 18th, which is Luke McManus's North Circular, which has obviously done the rounds and been very successful. But he's bringing it back. He's bringing it to the Lighthouse, and he's giving us a Joycean context to the film, because he told me that Joyce very much inspired the film, and he wanted to do a kind of poetic treatment of Dublin, kind of inspired by Joyce. And there's going to be like a musical Q&A as well, which I'm not really sure what that means, but it sounds exciting. So yeah, there's lots going on this year. Kind of thought it would be smaller this year. Obviously last year was the centenary, so I kind of thought it'd be smaller this year, but it's actually kind of got bigger. So lots on, lots to do, lots to look forward to.
And it sounds as well like there's a great hub for creatives and literary types and a melding of those different worlds. Is there a central hub where people can go after the films to have a pint and discuss what they've seen? Because I do think like that social network is as much fun as any of the screenings.
Yeah, definitely. So the main shorts are going to be at the Joyce Centre. So that will be a hub. We're going to have Q&As after each short screening, and kind of really encourage people to mix and share ideas. And we're also going to have, we're sponsored by Writers Tears Whiskey. So we're going to have whiskey tasting events at the Joyce Centre as well. And then obviously the IFI will be after the features. So that, yeah, there'll be a lot, like we want it to be as you said, a kind of a place where people can share ideas and be inspired and meet people and make connections. So yeah, that's very important as well.
Is there anything you've learned? Because it does sound like it has grown really fast. Is there anything sort of that you've learned as you've gone along from like 4 years to being someone who didn't do festivals, wasn't a programmer, to now?
One thing that always surprised me is how big like poetry films seem to be, and how much of an industry that is. Because it's something that I thought was quite niche, but actually it's a very popular category, and it's always very hard. It's the hardest to select because it's the one that we get the most submissions for. But that's really exciting, and there's a number of really exciting filmmakers out there who are dedicating themselves to poetry filmmaking. There's a company called the Adrian Brinkerhoff Poetry Foundation, who are actually collaborating with on a series at the moment, who they just produce poetry films. They work with poets, they do old poetry with performance actors, and they do new poetry with performance poets. And they're just like, they've made like over 200 of those now. So I think that's really exciting as a kind of way to get people back into poetry in a kind of audio visual medium. And then yeah, just the sheer amount of Joycean films that keep coming up every year. I kind of, as I said, kind of after the first or second year, we opened it up, to all these different categories, thinking like, surely we're scraping the barrel now. But actually last year was a very strong year. We had a Screen Ireland produced Dubliners adaptation and Encounter. Dave Tynan's did a version of Finnegan's Wake, and we had a Georgian ballet company who had created this really unique ballet piece based on Lucia Joyce. And this year's the same. We've got it's actually one of our biggest screenings is the Joycean short. So that always surprises me, and it kind of vindicates me a little bit for setting the festival up. So.
And who's your main audience? Is it more literary types? Is it more filmmakers? Is it 50-50 fans of the work?
I think it changes day by day, because we have the poetry films, we have the experimental films, and then we have the Joycean films. I would say the audience changes a lot based on, and also like depending who's there. If you have a certain filmmaker there or a certain poet there who's popular, you'll get fans of their work. We do obviously have our core sort of, at the James Joyce Centre, we have our core kind of Bloomsday audience as well, who are great, and they're always up for seeing what's happening. So it changes a lot. A lot of literary fans, and then a lot of kind of like people who are looking for something different in the film world as well. So I'd say it's quite a rich, eclectic mix of people who come along.
And you were saying as well that you were surprised by the number of poem films, that kind of like interpretation. Is there any other trends maybe that kind of stood out to you as maybe shifting or moving, or we're going in a different direction with regard to storytelling?
Well, there's a lot of really exciting experimental filmmakers in Ireland who have it's been a joy to discover, and that it seems to be majority women as well, which is interesting. People like Sheena Honan, Clea van der Grin, Laura Conlon, who won Best Experimental Short last year with Dear Evelyn. So that's really exciting, just to see the landscape of experimental filmmakers that are out there at the minute that are making really interesting work and really innovative work. So yeah, that's also a trend that we've noticed, doing the festival.
Brilliant. And I noticed you've an in-person festival and you have films online as well. It'll be a selected few will be available for people to rent if they can't make it into Dublin.
Well, yes. So we have the online edition as well, because it's something that was really popular during COVID, and we found that it was a way to kind of bring together. Obviously, there are Joycean communities all over the world, so we found that was something that was really exciting. We're seeing people in Melbourne, people in New York, even in Argentina. There's a Joycean society. So seeing these people from everywhere kind of react to the films, we kind of didn't really want to lose that. So we've kept the online edition, and that will be up from the 16th till the 18th. And all the films that are at the festival will be available to screen online this year.
And were there any kind of hidden gems that you'd really recommend people go see?
So there's a really exciting poetry film actually by the same Georgian ballet company called Miziana, and I haven't actually seen anything like it before, because what it is, it's a dance film, but they're actually dancing to the poetry, to the rhythm and the meter of the poetry, which is very interesting and very evocative. So that was a really interesting one for me. There's a great film by Hugh O'Connor called Dolorosa. It's like an experimental dance film. And another experimental film that really captured me called In Velvet, which is, I think, just a beautiful, breathtaking piece about a father and daughter, but through experimental dance. And then, we're welcoming back some well-known Joycean filmmakers as well. People like Godfrey Jordan, who's done another series of documentaries. One on which I really enjoyed, which is about modern day female scholars reacting to Joyce and Joyce's importance to feminist culture and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to this year, definitely.
Sounds wonderful. And where can people, most importantly, get tickets?
If you go to our website, bloomsdayfestival.ie/film festival, and all the tickets will be up there for all the shorts. The IFI tickets are online now. If you go to the IFI website.
Brilliant. That's great. Listen, thanks so much. That's fabulous. Good luck with the festival. Sounds like a wonderful lineup. And we'll all have a whiskey after. Then in the Joyce Centre. So that sounds wonderful. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Gemma. Thanks for having me.